The first time I met with my oncologist, I had only one question. You see, I had just been diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer, and I was in his office that day to learn about everything that was headed my way. It took him less than 20 minutes to get through my biopsy results, my course of treatment, and my surgeries. And when he had concluded, he asked if I had any questions. When will I lose my hair? He looked at me and I knew he knew the answer because he must have been asked that question thousands of times before. Week 3. You see, hair loss was top of mind for me because up until that point, my struggle was internal. Thoughts about death and how much pain was I going to have to endure. I desperately needed to know when the impact of my diagnosis would turn outward and be visible to the world. I went home that day, picked up a calendar, grabbed a red marker, and I circled the start of week 3. For days, I obsessed over that date and realized I couldn't handle the anticipation. And so the night before my very first chemo, I sat down in front of my bathroom mirror and told myself, you can do this. If you don't do this, the drugs will do it for you. And before I could think another second, I flipped on the clippers, and in less than 5 minutes, my shoulder-length hair was reduced to a pile on the floor. I didn't realize the impact I'd create by buzzing off my hair. Fast forward to week 4, and my hair was indeed starting to fall out. I made my way to the hospital to receive chemo and was told I'd be in the community room that day. As I made my way back, I saw there was only one seat available. And as I passed other patients already seated receiving treatment, I smiled and then took a seat. After a while, the woman next to me started up a conversation. The first thing she asked about, my hair. Little did I know the impact our conversation would have. She was slight with a knitted blanket on her lap and a blue patchwork hat on her head. And I shared with her the same story I shared with you, and with every twist and turn of my words, her eyes widened. And at the conclusion of my story, she leaned in and whispered, I couldn't do that. Here, look. And she lifted her hat, and my heart sank. Because underneath was an almost completely bald head with sporadic pea-sized patches of dark, frail hair that hung to her shoulders. She quickly put her hat back on and we continued our conversation. When my treatment concluded, I wished her well and said goodbye, never knowing if I'd see her again. 2 weeks later, back at the hospital for chemo, I was told once again I'd be in the community room. I made my way back and noticed there was only one seat available. And to my delight, it was right next to the woman in the blue patchwork hat. But this time she greeted me excitedly, and as soon as I sat down, she leaned over and said, I did it. Did what? I went to the barber. And she took off her hat to proudly show me her cleanly shaven head. You see, she had found a barber and shared my story with him. And he was so moved by her bravery to come into his shop that day that he told her her cut was on the house. I had no idea the impact that shaving my head would create and spark a conversation that sparked a brave motion that led to a barber. You see, it's so rare that we get to see the impact that we have on others. It isn't in those big moments that we witness and experience. It's often found in those quiet moments that we have with friends, strangers, and in my case, between the pages of my book or on a coaching call with a client. We simply need to show up every day as our perfectly imperfect selves and allow the impact of our interactions to ripple out. And so I have only one question for you. How will you go out today and spark an impact?